Hi, readers and writers. My name is Miss Hodson, and I am your virtual teacher for 7th grade. And we've spent many weeks together, and we are moving into week 8 with lesson 35 today. Our guiding questions remain the same. How is the adolescent brain changing? In this week's article, we're really looking at how we consume news and how we trust it or fact check it. We're going to stay focused on that this week. And how can I make an informed decision about an issue like screen time and then effectively argue my position? So the way that this issue this week would read for our guiding question is, how can I make an informed decision about an issue like fake news or fact-checking news or bias in the news, and then effectively argue my position? So these are things that we continue to grow with throughout our weeks of study. And I really appreciate you being here again today. We're going to move on with lesson 35, and you can pause the video here so you can find your digital learning packet along with the article we started yesterday, your assignment 35 with your note catcher and a pencil. And when you have those materials in front of you, you can push play and we'll continue the lesson. All right, fantastic. Today we have 2 learning targets. The first one is, I can cite several pieces of text-based evidence to support an informational text. So as you read just one of the sections from this article today in a close reading, you're going to want to draw out of that one section some very specific text-based evidence to answer the questions in your note catcher. Super great. I can determine the theme or central idea of an informational text. And we're really just going to be looking at one section. So looking at the central idea of that section, certainly the heading will help us determine that central idea. So we're going to go to the article, and we're not reading the whole thing today. We're actually just going to read one section, and the section starts at the bottom of page 1, and where the heading is just there, and then the section you're reading is at the top of page 2. So the section you're reading from this article today is called Seeking Out Opposing Viewpoints. So that's way down here, but the section you're going to read today are the first 4 paragraphs on the top of page 2. Okay? You could pause the video here for maybe 5 minutes. It's a really short section. It's all we're doing today. And I'd like you, as you read that section, to think about how you stay informed as a young adult. How do you stay knowledgeable about what's happening in the world, in the news, in the music industry, in your local town? How do you determine if you are reading or seeing fake news? You hear about that, but what is fake news? How do you know if you're seeing that? And how do you begin to separate fact from fiction, or they called it exaggeration in the article? And are you aware of any bias you notice from a news source, depending on what you're listening to in your city? On the radio, on social media, on the television, are you aware that any of your news media could have just some biases politically? You never know. So being conscious of that, being aware that that could be happening, and especially in social media, not just implicitly and simply trusting what you're reading, but going deeper with that. So as you read the one section, again, it's called Seeking Out Opposing Viewpoints. Think about those things. Pause the video for about 5 minutes, and I'll meet you back here and we'll finish our lesson. Okay? Thanks. Okay, when you stay focused just on that one section, they're citing a lot of surveys. And I wanted you to be able to talk with someone possibly in your family or around that would be able to help you think about research and supporting understandings of new ideas. So this idea of fact checking, what is that? Have a conversation about what is fact checking and why is it important when determining trust of the news? You have to understand that we don't all believe we're always getting all of it. We have to be seeking more and more information. So have a quick talk with someone about if anyone is fact checking the news or if there's any concern about trust of the news and advocacy of your community. And then you can come back here and we'll get into the note catcher. Okay, welcome back. That's fantastic. You know, it's a very short passage that we stayed focused on with our close reading today. So to complete lesson 35 in the note catcher, just looking at that one section, writing some notes that address each of those sections. So the first question is, how does fake news potentially influence millennials? And how do young people take responsibility in educating themselves and seeking out multiple viewpoints? The third question is, do you trust news from social media websites like Facebook and Twitter? Just an opinion. Do you or don't you? Or maybe you don't use Facebook or Twitter. So the answer is easy, but you could answer it from the concept of social media. And then the fourth section of your note catcher just says, think of 3 ways you think about the news and what is happening in the world today. 3 ways that you learn about that. So hopefully you have a couple of ideas. No right or wrong answer, just 3 ways you learn about the news. And then write a summary sentence about why it is important to verify news stories and stay current on the events of the world, maybe your local, and maybe in your local community. So a lot of this is opinion. The other part of it, you're going to need to cite some evidence, draw from just that one section. You don't have to go other places in the article. And it'll probably take you about 15 minutes if you want to pause that now and then come back and we'll finish out today's lesson. I'll see you back here in about 15 minutes. All right, fantastic. Welcome back. So when you write a summary sentence about why it's important to verify news stories and stay current, I'm expecting that you have an opinion about that and that this article is helping to inform that opinion. So you could have taken that in a lot of directions. Think of the 3 ways, at least 3 ways that you learn about the news. And I can tell you, being raised in Michigan, and I live in Michigan right now, I listen to a little bit of radio news. I listen to a national news organization, and I also watch my local news because, you know, I won't know about local weather and all kinds of special events in my city or area if I don't watch my local news. So I have like 3 prongs to my news intake: the radio, national television news, and also my local television news. My print news is the Detroit Free Press, and I read it online, so I do not pick up the paper and read it in my hand, but I do read it online. And I've got a couple of media sources on my phone where it will, you know, give me an alert if there's a breaking news story with the Supreme Court or other things that I follow because I'm interested, okay? I'm also interested in ESPN news, not that there's a ton happening all the time, but I like to be informed about what is going on. So these are the kinds of ways that you might be thinking about that 4th section. I just wanted to give you some examples of that. So share these ideas with your people around you. And after you're done with your assignment, could you please also read for your own pleasure or read to a younger brother or sister, something that's around, maybe a news article, you never know, for about 20 more minutes. And then your fluency practice today could be to ask an adult or someone else to read the text to you and follow along, confront any vocabulary that you need to, and then practice reading the text a couple of times. Just seeing the words and moving through the article will help you with your fluency check at the end of the week. So I really appreciate your effort and time today, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. I hope you make it a great day.